Sweden, 1995 hosts, a reward for Scandinavia's long commitment to the women's game. The Americans, already gearing up for the first women's football in the Atlanta Olympic Games a year ahead, arrived as favourites.
And here you are. Ready? Yeah, we met Julie, Thaddy.
But inevitably, Sweden were expected to challenge for the title, led by Pia Sundhage, who had first played for the national team, aged only 15. And the opportunity to turn it into a midsummer family festival wasn't going to be missed. 12 teams again, like 1991, divided into 3 groups of 4, with England, Canada and Australia making their first appearances in the finals. Developments this time included 12 women officials, games of 90 minutes duration with 1 timeout allowed in each half. The opening game in Helsingborg, Sweden against Brazil, and things didn't go according to plan. 37th minute, a breakthrough by Roselli. A 1-0 victory for Brazil. A nation stunned. In contrast, Norway were dominant. 8 goals against Nigeria, 2 more against England, 7 against Canada. Evidence of a talented, well-prepared team.
We played against men and beat them. We had loads of energy, had some days at home, arrived at the tournament, didn't think about what was at the end of the tournament, but a lot about every match. What's the next step, the next step, the next step? And that way an energy is built up, which makes it almost impossible to lose.
And a 3-1 quarter-final victory over Denmark came next. They seemed unstoppable. Germany, led by Sylvia Neid, were one of the youngest teams in Sweden, with 17-year-old Birgit Prince making a mark in a strong squad. They'd beaten Sweden 3-2 in the UEFA final 3 months earlier. If they beat them again here in Helsingborg, they'd put them out of the tournament, and they were 2-0 up in the first half. But in the second half, Sweden fought back.
Oh, that's a penalty. Linda Black, no doubt about that. Here's Anderson. No trouble. All the German players back for this one. Comes off Pullman to Sundhage. 2-2, 10 minutes left. Germany under real pressure here. And that's a poor punch to Sundhage. It's blocked. Here's Anderson. Malin Anderson, 86th minute. It's 3-2.
The USA were in good spirits, despite a knee injury to Michelle Akers. They won their group, but only on goal difference over China. Many of this squad had played together since the late 80s. A nucleus of 6 of them were in the 1991 winning team, and they meant business.
So they don't just hold that flat shape.
They wrapped up their quarter-final against Japan in the first half. Christine Lilly opened the scoring after only 8 minutes. And had it not been for the 21-year-old goalkeeper Junko Ozawa, it could have been a lot worse for Japan. Sadly, it was an error by Ozawa which presented Lilly with her second goal. And just before half-time, Tiffany Milbrett with a perfect volley. 4-0 the final score, and this was without Michelle Akers. The quarter-final between Sweden and China was the first FIFA Women's World Cup final match to go to penalties. And 2 great saves by goalkeeper Gao Hong resolved this one, denying Malin Anderson with Sweden's first kick, and then when Annika Nesvold was under pressure with their 5th kick, Gao Hong was the star, and China went through to the semi-final, revenge for their defeat by Sweden 4 years earlier, the end of the road for the hosts. Train was the chosen form of travel for the teams, and the schedule was punishing. Games every other day with lots of relocation in between would be tough at any level. Although only the final would be played in Stockholm, the distances between venues were significant. The Germans, however, did things in style, in a plane hired by their federation. Despite defeat by Sweden, they'd progressed, And nobody was enjoying it more than captain Sylvia Naid, who'd missed most of the 1991 tournament through injury.
It was a great World Cup, particularly from my point of view. I know that I had prepared really well for this. It was clear that it was my last World Cup. I had registered myself as unemployed before, so that I really had a lot of time to train, which is what I did.
And a 3-0 quarter-final win over England put them into the semi-finals. The support for Norway was growing, and so were TV audiences. And the tournament's leading scorer, Ann Kristin Arones, was proving very effective.
It's obviously an advantage to be as tall as I am, especially on challenges in the air. It also helps when balls are played in from corners.
And that is exactly what happened. Arones there again, the 10th minute, and Norway already ahead. If Norway controlled the first half, the second period belonged to the US. Then it was Joy Fawcett's turn. But it wasn't enough. And the holders were out. Norway went into the final. Helsingborg is a transit point, and it was going to be the last stop for either Germany or China. China's exhausting quarter-final against Sweden certainly affected them, but they were unlucky not to score with the best move of the game here. And they were punished when a half clearance came to Bettina Wiegmann. Another quality German goal and a match winner. The final in Stockholm, with Swedish fans now swelling the support for their neighbours. A crowd of 15,000, but Norway were missing their most capped player, Heidi Storr, through suspension. In pouring rain, the conditions were difficult, but Norway coped with them better, particularly Hege Riise. That was the 36th minute. 4 minutes later, they scored again, as the German defence got itself into a painful tangle. "19-year-old Marianne Pettersen, great determination, Norway in control." The Norwegians had been in a class of their own, physically and tactically. 23 goals scored, just 1 conceded. Gro Espeseth took the cup. The player of the tournament was Hege Riise, an award which she later said gave her less pleasure than playing in a focused, talented team, who conjured up some unique celebrations.